Hey, everybody. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I am so delighted that you are here with me today. If you're a new listener, welcome. And if you are a returning listener, I am so grateful that you are here. If you're enjoying the show, leave me a review. Let me know what you think. And you can always reach out to me at themidlifewhisperer.com. That's themidlifewhisperer.com. And I want to welcome listeners in Greece and Chile and the Netherlands and Canada and China and the Philippines, Germany, Australia, and Spain. And I'm just about to hit 10,000 downloads. So I'm super excited. This is my 27th show. So I made it through a half a year and looking forward to another wonderful half a year. And we have an awesome show for you today. I want to start off by reading this great quote from Jamie Lee Curtis, who I absolutely love. And she says, anti-discrimination, anti-drug, there are plenty of things to be anti about. Anti-discrimination, anti-drug, anti-oppression, anti-poverty, anti-sickness. But aging isn't one of them. We need to become pro-aging and embrace the opportunities that aging provides. And totally agree with her, because midlife is a time of renaissance, recreation, rebirth, and it can be the absolute best time of your life. And if you're struggling or you are feeling stuck, it's okay. It's super common at midlife. Today's show is going to empower and inspire you to create a life that you don't need a vacation from. And we're talking with two amazing midlife women, pro-aging influencer, Wendy Euler. She is the soul and style behind Goodbye Crop Top. So we'll be talking with her. And then later on in the show, we are going to be talking with Alyssa Dineen, and she is founder of Style My Profile and author of The Art of Online Dating. And I met Wendy last week, and I have to say, I am having so much fun at midlife. I went to New York City with the love of my life. Today actually is our 800-day anniversary. And yes, we met online, and I am so in love. We started off our trip going to New York. We went to the World Trade Center site. We went to Central Park. We went to the Museum of Modern Art. We went to Soho, and we went to Chinatown, and just, God, had such a road trip, had so much fun, had an amazing time at the pro-aging event where I met the incredible Wendy, where we were talking all about, like, how do we flip the script? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm here to say, gosh, I had so much fun, and you can have so much fun in midlife. We actually also went to the largest RV show in the country. So it's on my bucket list to get an RV and travel around. Hope to see you in Montana, Wendy. I've been there, and it's beautiful country. So let me tell you a little bit about Wendy Euler. She is a model, and she's a badass. Let me say that first of all. She's a writer. She's a podcast host. She is a pro-aging advocate, and she is creator of Goodbye Crop Top. And she created Goodbye Crop Top in response to a profound lack of representation of women her age in the media landscape. So at 49, she recognized that there was an overwhelmingly negative portrayal of women over age 40 across various media platforms. So she took it into her own hands and I'm going to do something about that. And since then, she has made it her mission to encourage women to embrace the privilege of getting older and reject societal narratives of what and what shouldn't women do or wear after a particular age. So welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Wendy.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was so great to meet you last week. So great. I love that we've actually met face to face. I don't know. I love that. I have to say, we sat on a panel together, and I instantly fell in love with you and your wisdom and your happiness and your sense of humor. And then when I was kind of biting my tongue and sitting on my hands not to cuss during the panel, and then you opened that door for me by dropping an F-bomb. And that's when I really fell in love with you. So it's so great to be here. So great to be here.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to be here. And I said that in response, and it came out spontaneously because I don't usually do that, but it was like, I feel effing amazing. If you've been following me, you know, I got diagnosed with breast cancer 4 months ago, and I made some changes. I really zapped my workaholic, which was huge, made a few lifestyle changes. I was super healthy to start with, but I feel great, and I'm having so much fun. So let's get into it. So clearly, we've got this negativity bias around aging and the perception of it. I'm wondering, where did that come from? In your opinion, why are we portrayed once we hit 40? Again, you put midlife in Google, it's conjoined with crisis. You put it in the thesaurus, and what comes up is the wrong side of 40. How did we get here?
Oh, God, that's such a good question. Well, one, I think, the first thing that comes to mind is there's a whole world out there of anti-aging, which you mentioned in the introduction and earlier. And I happen to be very anti-aging. And I think, a lot of it comes from those that be patriarchy, preying on the weak, preying on the women post 40, making them feel insecure and bad about themselves. And like anything else, I think one of the, main drivers is monetary. It's a moneymaker. It's a psychological manipulation by the media and the powers that be to make us spend money and feel bad about ourselves. And I'm over it.
Yeah, that's so true. Because if we didn't feel bad about, whether it's hair, skin, waistline, all of those things, we wouldn't buy these BS products and services, right? And none of them really are going to give you what you want. You're not going to like wake up someday and all of a sudden look like supermodel.
No, you're not. And like I always say, it's there's no magic potion in a bottle or in a jar of cream or in a supplement. There's just, you've got to, and you heard me say this, last week in New York, is that I am a big believer, and I've pushed for years. I have a podcast about it. I've talked about it, that you have to get back to basics, right? I think everyone is all of a sudden hitting these points of panic and trying, this is $500. This is going to make me feel better, or this or that. And you sit down with these women, which I've done and you've done, that all of us have done here on this call today. And you say, hey, are you really like moving your body, drinking your water, hanging around with fantastic people that lift you and make you feel good? Do you have some kind of a spiritual practice that can be listening to music or walking your dog or kissing a tree? I don't care. But do you have some kind of spiritual practice? What are you putting in your mouth? What are you eating? Are you stimulating your mind? And all that is free. All of those things are free. And more times than not, I find, and I don't know, I would bet that your findings are the same, that maybe the women, in my case, the women or the people I talk to, are practicing one or two, if of those basic needs that we have to feel good from the inside out.
Yeah, those are great points, that it is free, that we don't need to spend $500 on some cream. But it's the same thing as we feel like, okay, I feel desperate, I'm gonna do that thing, versus, and my favorite beauty technique is sleep. If I get 7, 8 good hours of sleep, and I've been really reading Why We Sleep and working on my sleep regime, I feel amazing. But all of these things we can do, like water, I'm amazed when I sit down as a dietitian and a health and wellness coach, and I'm just like, yeah, do you have your water, next to your desk all day long? Do you have a standing desk? Are you getting at least 30 minutes of exercise? Are you going out in nature? Are you walking barefoot in the earth? There are so many things. That's curious. I'm wondering why we don't do all of these free things and instead, dip into our MasterCard and get the $500 cream. Any thoughts about why we do the cream instead of like taking our shoes off and walking barefoot on the earth?
Well, I think it's just human nature a lot of times that we all wait till we hit the boiling point to do something about anything, right? We all just wait till you're about to erupt and you can't take it anymore. And I think that you have to get to that point to get back to basics. So hopefully this is answering your question, but I think we all get so lost in our day-to-day lives and what we're looking at, what's going in our ears and our eyes and our mouths in every way. And I think another thing is, that's toxic, that gets us to that point, is comparing yourself to others. That is something I do not do that. If someone recently asked me, who's your competition? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't know. I'm the only me. I wake up every day and try to put good content out into the world and go to bed at night knowing I've done that and practicing my basics. And I feel okay about that. But I think hopefully this is a roundabout way of asking or answering your question. But I think that, you just wait till you get to that point of, and it's day-to-day life that gets you there. It's kids, it's dogs, it's stress, it's work, it's, and you just, hopefully the more of us that start talking about this, the more people will get back to basics. And it's really a huge part of conquering this second half of life, because it's not hard. And, you mentioned earlier in the intro, people feel stuck. People feel bad. I feel stuck. I feel bad. I feel sad. I feel all of those things. But I'm trying to get back to my basics and what comes with aging is wisdom, like not caring what people think, losing judgment of others. That's the most freeing thing. Lose all judgment of others. Just worry about yourself. And anyway, that's a fiery tangent.
Absolutely. Yeah. But lose judgment of yourself too. And I think something that I see all the time is that we think as we're, approaching 40, approaching 50, going through menopause, we think this is fait accompli. Like I'm just going to fall apart, gain weight. I know I didn't gain weight. A lot of my clients don't. What I find more often than not is it's not the menopause is causing a little bit of it, but it's also that we're moving less. Our diets are getting dumpier. We're drinking more alcohol. We're sitting more and we're getting less sleep. We're more stressed out, all of those things. And then I think one of the most profound things, and I love what you're doing now on your podcast, these 5-minute little snippets of things that people can do, is start your day, even 5 minutes of just breathing or a little bit of journaling, connecting with your higher power, as you said, having a spiritual practice. Doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to, go to India and study or do anything. Just a little bit of saying, okay, here's what I'm grateful for today. I'm happy to be above ground. I have people in my life who I love. And I think for me, so much of my motivation is like, how am I inspiring others? Right.
Yes.
And I love this idea that you kind of brought up is if each of us can be the USU, if each of us can just be our best self, not care what other people think, not compare ourselves to other people, but be lifted up. And that's something I love about Instagram. There's a lot of social comparison going on, but then there's just a lot of ladies like us who are just like normal. Well, you're a model, so you get a little bit outside the box.
I'm normal.
But normal. But you know what I mean? Like I see so many women who are just like this one woman I follow, Ruby. She just showed herself like jumping in puddles. They had a drought and she was so happy about the rain. And she was out there in her elephant print pants, like jumping in the puddles. And I was like, right on. You are just like, this is who I am. And I'm doing my best to love my life. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of anti-aging, because I know that you talked a lot about this in the panel with Great Lakes Wellness. Why do you dislike the term anti-aging?
Well, because I hate the alternative. I mean, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm a day older. I've aged, and that is what I want to do. I do not want to be in a box or an urn quite yet. So I will happily age. I think it's that simple. I have a lot of perspective. I've lost a lot of people that died way too young. I'm sure that has, been the impetus behind my passion for life and my great dislike for anti-aging. But it's that simple. I want to age. I feel lucky to age. Like, I have friends that would have given anything to age instead of die. I mean, that's my own personal take. So I can't stand it. And I don't want to be 30 or quite frankly 40, or definitely not in my 20s again. And I loved all of those times of my life, but I don't even think about how old I am. I mean, I sometimes will sit on an airplane and I'll be chatting up a person next to me thinking, I'm about her age. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go to the bar when we land. I don't know, like how, and she'll say, oh, I'm 33. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, okay. I mean, it kind of, puts me back in my place, but I don't think about it. I just think more about living than aging. It just infuriates me. And this goes back to what I just said about the psychological manipulation that's everywhere, and trying to look, if you're 50, you're never going to look 30 again, ever, never, ever, ever, ever. I mean, and So like that's not going to happen. And your body changes and all these things. But I think, when I talk about the basics, and sorry to go back to this again, but one of the basics is hang around with people that make you feel good. So really question, who are you hanging around with? Who are you sitting across from at lunch? Why do you feel like you need to do those things to yourself, whatever it might be, And I should be very clear that I'm all for whatever puts a spring in your step and makes you happy. And I said this on the panel too, Ellen, but just question your intention around why you do it. Do you do it to look a little more rested and pretty good for your age, or are you genuinely trying to go back 20 years? Because it's just not going to happen. But I think the company you keep is everything. The community you have on Instagram is everything. Who are you hanging around with? And do they make you feel smart? Do they teach you? Do you teach them? I mean, that's a big one for me.
Yeah. And I'd like to add too, that the most important thing about you isn't your looks. As women, we're also taught the most important thing about us is our looks. And so when we don't live up to the thin, youthful ideal, we feel like something's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. I actually have to say, I like my body and the way I look more now than at any other point in my life. I feel like I'm more beautiful. And I think that's because of the internal changes. And I've really accepted myself, and I practice and preach self-compassion. And my research actually showed that being nice to yourself, treating yourself like a good friend, being kind rather than judgmental, knowing that aging is normal, taking a moment when you're like, and I just loved what you said about, sometimes I feel stuck. Sometimes I feel sad. It's normal. It's okay to experience the difficult emotions, and then be nice to yourself when you experience that. That actually shifts your body image. My research showed practicing self-compassion reduces body shame, body dissatisfaction, self-worth based on appearance, and improves body appreciation. I think as we age too, I'm just happy. I feel good. I just feel absolutely incredible. My energy is awesome. I feel confident. I think that's something that happens. Do you agree that you feel, I don't know, I was very much more self-conscious in my 30s, my 40s. I was a personal fitness trainer with horrible negative body image. I was like a alcoholic working in a liquor store, working out like 4 to 6 hours a day with all my clients. My body was never good enough. So you're feeling like you're, where's the wisdom? What are you learning and feeling more empowered around the aging process?
Well, I do feel a lot. I feel better than I've ever felt, but it's hard work. I mean, I don't just wake up and go, woohoo. I'm like, I work hard. I work hard to stay fit. I work hard to maintain, which isn't super hard to maintain friendships, but with those that are out of town, I work hard to nurture the relationships that are important to me. I eat well. I have a lot of fun. Lately, I've rediscovered fun and laughter, and just how extremely important laughing is. And that those are the people I want to hang around with. I want to laugh so hard that I fall off my chair. That is a big, big priority for me. And I think, asking around, what have you done to have fun lately? That's what, self-care and this and that, whatever. Great. Okay. But are you having fun? Because that's really, really important. Are you watching things that make you laugh? Are you hanging around with people that make you laugh? For me, that's important. And I wanted to touch on something back to, when you feel good about yourself, you start to attract people who feel good about themselves and who feel great about you and who think you're amazing because you finally think you're amazing. And I certainly didn't coin this phrase, but there's a very fine line between self-deprecation and self-loathing. And I think people are far too, women in particular in our world, far too self-deprecating. And there's some seriousness to what they're saying. And they hear that over and over, and they're laughing at themselves. But are they really? I mean, do you know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think that, that plays into that sort of negativity bias, right? And also the self-critic. And sometimes we think if I criticize myself first, then I beat other people to the punch. If I say like, I'm having a horrible hair day, not only does that color your whole day, but you're like, okay, I'm going to say that I don't look good, or I don't feel good, or I'm not good. And so other people aren't going to criticize me. And that's a real thing that happens. And then we get into this negativity loop. We think that if I just kind of focus on what's wrong with me, maybe I'll figure it out, instead of just being like, hey, I'm, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit of a bozo on a bus. I'm a little bit klutzy. I do silly things. I make mistakes. And like you said, you laugh at the silly things that you can do. I can do something like make a smoothie and forget to put the lid on top of the blender. I ruined my $400 Vitamix by blending a spoon. We do those silly things as long as nothing happens in terms of hurting ourselves. But it's something I see. So if you're listening, catch yourself and, do that piece of self-compassion where you notice, wow, how do I treat myself like I would a good friend? Like, would I say to a friend, hey, you're having a horrible hair day, right?
That's right.
I would, and would
exactly.
I would tell her if she had like a piece of kale stuck between her teeth, I'd be like, hey, you need to, get this thing out. But so I think it's something we do. And I think that the way that we think about ourselves has such a huge impact on who we attract, the life that we move forward. Yes. I know we'll talk to Alyssa on the second half of the show about dating, but I know for myself, learning to love myself, learning self-compassion, and also being authentic, I feel like really attracted my Kenny, really attracted the love of my life, attracted me to this beautiful place where I live on this tiny little island in the Champlain Islands, where my life is so good. I have to, kind of pinch myself. Is this real? But when we're feeling like I'm not okay, we keep building this ladder that keeps building these layers of not okayness instead of just like, yeah, I'm okay. And that's that common humanity piece, realizing that none of us is perfect. So I love that you brought that up.
Nobody's perfect, as they say.
Perfect. Absolutely. Well, I want to talk a little bit about style, because something that I advocate doing at midlife is like looking back at your younger days. What did you love? And when I graduated from University of Pennsylvania many moons ago, I went into retailing and I love clothing. I sewed all my clothing. I was really into fashion, and I'm kind of like deep six that for a while, and I'm rediscovering that and having so much fun with style. And I've got a great little stylist who is gonna, who sets me up. And I love, thrifting and going to consignment shops, and had a great time in New York. So how do we rock our midlife style? What is some of your tips? Because you've got a great style. I mean, you showed up in these like amazing jeans with this great vest, and you just looked like a rock star.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I was just going to say, you have definitely tapped into your style. I see that and feel that about you when you walk into a room, and it's you, and it's elegant, and it's fun. And, so you've got that going for you, I think. And I think that, Iris Apfel said it best lately when she said, you can buy fashion. Fashion is for others. You can go out and buy fashion, but style is personal. And that's where I always say style is substance. Style is who you are, and what you wear and how you're presenting yourself, to me, most times is a barometer of where you are in your life. How are you coming forward? And I felt so shallow for so long saying that, and that's superficial, and that's it. But it's not. Like, to me, it's my art form. I love dressing myself. I love helping other people tap into their style. But I would say, never buy anything because anyone else is wearing, or because it's trendy. Like, I hate skinny jeans. I hate them. I'm uncomfortable in them. I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm like, if I fly in them, forget about it. I have to cut them off of me when I get to my hotel room. I just never got into that trend because I knew it didn't work for me. And if I ever walked in a room in skinny jeans, I was fidgety, it was uncomfortable. They're digging it. And I said, forget it. I'm not going to do it. So one was style. I'd say, dress for yourself. Never dress for anyone else. Dress for you, and whatever makes you feel good. Again, you'll be better. You'll exude confidence if you wear what you love and tap into your own personal style.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I have to say something at midlife is I like to dress more and more like a toddler. Like, I just bought myself, I love jumpsuits these days, jumpsuits and comfortable shoes.
Me too.
But what that event, it was so fun. I tried this dress on that I wore, and I just was like, looked at myself, and I was like, I felt a little like J-Lo, I had this great butt and I had curves, and especially after breast cancer, because I was just thinking, like, am I even going to have breasts? What am I going to look like? And after having that battle, I'm kind of like, I'm going to wear what I like to wear, and not, be hostage to some kind of trends. And it's weird. Like, I don't even look at women's magazines anymore to see what's in anymore. I don't know. Do you sort of follow the trends or?
I mean, I do, just inevitably it comes to me from what I do, you know, but I don't, I'm very good at scouring them and kind of understanding what might be fleeting and what might work for me, you know. I mean, I love the bra tops now with pants. I think that's the cool. I would not wear that, but I think that's the coolest trend. Like, that's one trend that right now I'm going, I dig that. You know, I prefer a blazer or a big cashmere sweater sort of draped over it, but I think that's cool. I'm not going to wear it, but I think it's amazing.
Yeah, so, I would say I was walking around New York City and I was amazed at how many women were just like walking down Fifth Avenue with a bra on. Oh, I don't know. I'm still of the old school of like, I don't know. I feel like bras should be like not seen. I don't know. But
I don't know. I think they're supposed to be bra tops, but I don't know. Maybe yours were a little too risque. Maybe the ones you saw were a little different.
Yeah, they were a little crazy. So I'm curious, what are some of the top benefits that you have found that come with aging?
One, I mean, it goes back to what we just talked about, losing judgment of myself. So really having the confidence and the experience to jump into my own skin and be confident there. Two, to lose judgment of others. I don't care. Whatever works best for you. I don't sit and judge others. And like I said, that is the most freeing thing to me. You know, just focus on you. I think, I mean, there's more goodness than that. I could go on and on and on, but I coming into beautiful friendships, understanding, you know, what makes you tick, and the ability to just be brutally honest with how you feel. I mean, there's just so much goodness. There's so much.
Yeah, I have found it. I've fired a lot of my shadow selves, like fired the workaholic, fired the people pleaser, fired that inner critic. And it's when you do that work, it's so free. And then you just discover, like, who are you really when you get through all of those layers of trauma that have been trying to keep you safe. So I totally agree with you. I am loving exactly where I'm at. I think I'm the happiest I have been as an adult. Totally. So I'm curious, what would you tell your younger self about aging? So if you were sitting down with your 26, 30-year-old self and you're like, okay, Wendy Jr., here's what I want you to know, what would you say?
I'd say don't look around at anything that's going on right now, because there's this amazing group of women that's going to come forward for you and show you that it's the best time of your life. And the narrative and the thinking around aging is going to be so different when you get there. So just don't worry about it. Have fun.
Yeah, I think we are changing the conversation. Do you see that? I mean, I know that we're talking about menopause. That's something new in the last 5 years. We're talking about menopause. We're talking about pro-aging. People are talking about it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Instead of feeling shame, like the way that shame gets exaggerated is when we don't talk about it, when we just stay in our shame bubble instead of saying, like, I'm struggling with this. And are you there? And, you know, are you having those, you know, the hot flash? All of a sudden I was in a restaurant when I was in New York, and this woman was like, I'm having a flash. Can you move me somewhere cooler? And I was like, I hear you, sister. I totally hear you, that we realize that this is all normal and okay. So we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking to Alyssa. Dineen is going to join the conversation. And we're going to talk more about what we all can do to empower ourselves, empower each other. And also we're going to talk about online dating, which I am super excited about because, hey, I am an online dating success story. So take a little break and I will see you in a few moments. Hey, everybody, welcome back. If you'd like to get in touch with me, just head on over to themidlifewhisperer.com. That's themidlifewhisperer.com. I've got a great free gift for you there. And if you're enjoying the show, please leave me a review. I would love to know what you think and the kind of guests you would like to hear. And before the break, we were talking to Wendy Euler, and now I want to introduce our next guest, because I'm here to tell you online dating absolutely works. Today is day 800 in my relationship with my wonderful man, Kenny. So in love. We actually went to a wedding when we did our road trip. And you go to a wedding and you see this couple and you watch them and you look at them and they're loving each other. And I was just crying. I had so much emotion because I feel that way. Here I am at 59, totally head over heels in love. Every day keeps getting better and better. And I found Kenny online at a dating site called Spiritual Singles. And it was just amazing. The Match.com thing didn't work for me. They actually had me, for some reason, I was a male looking for female and I wasn't able to shift that. But so I didn't do the match, but I did do the Spiritual Singles. And I'm just so happy. And online dating works. And we are now going to talk with Alyssa Dineen, and she is an editor. She's a stylist. She has an art director in New York for over 20 years. And after she divorced at age 41, she began online dating and rediscovered herself in the process. Through this journey, she found many people out there that could improve their dating profiles, and while doing so, their understanding of what they want. She is founder of Style My Profile, and she now helps online daters transform their destinies by taking charge of their profiles and their dating experience with her unique approach of intentional, I love that, dating and self-discovery. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Alyssa. So good to have you here.
Thank you. That's so good to be here.
So before we dive into online dating, I just want to ask you if you have a quick question for Wendy, because I love having my guests interact. Do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, Wendy? I do. I want to ask Wendy, who inspired you, I guess, when and how did you get inspired to get into the pro-aging world and be kind of a mentor for that?
Yeah. So I started it when I was 49, which was 5 years ago. And I have always loved style, which we just talked about, and I've always loved to write. And my whole life, I have had my writing and my fashion magazines literally under my bed and pulled them out at the end of the day and written and flipped through and done all that stuff. And I was in the advertising business for years and years, and I had a baby at 46, a whole separate podcast. And I took some time off and I was trying to decide what I was going to do. And I woke up one morning and I thought, I'm so tired of this lack of representation in the marketplace, or out there, if you will, for women in the middle. There were either women, like we said earlier, trying to look 30 at 50, or women curling up in a ball and throwing in the towel and thinking their lives are over. And there was this chasm out there back, when I started this 5 years ago, nothing saying, this is incredible. Like, I feel so good about it. So a few things happened to get me there, but I went on a hike with a girlfriend my age, and we finished the hike, and she said, not every woman our age feels like you feel, and you really need to talk about this. Like, you really need to just start writing and get out there and help women, because I have so many depressed friends and this and that. And I read Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, 2 times in 1 week, and got over some of the fear I was having of putting myself forward, because it is a bit terrifying. And here we go. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's great.
Thanks for asking. Yeah,
totally love that. So speaking of fear and courage and confidence, how do you know, first of all, that you're ready to date? And then when you decide, okay, I'm ready to do this thing, how do you get the courage and the confidence to start?
Well, I think, so I work mainly with people in our age group, midlife, post, long relationship or divorce. And I think the main thing is, of course, there's the obvious things, which are like, are you healed? Do you feel like are you ready in that way where you're emotionally ready to move forward? But it's also, it's so much more than that. It's also, do you actually look forward to going out and meeting new people? Because I think so much about online dating, people get bogged down by the, this is just going to be, another date where I, leave feeling unfulfilled and come home depressed. And, so many people get into that mindset. Even if you're just starting out, you're kind of like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and this is going to be terrible. And you kind of go in with all this negativity. And I think really what it comes down to is getting yourself out the door and actually getting into a situation where you're learning something new about someone. You're telling somebody new about yourself. You're experiencing new food maybe, or a new neighborhood, or whatever it may be, something that is going to inspire you in some way and make you feel like you want to do that again. And it doesn't mean that you're going out and maybe meeting your soulmate. I think that's where people get tripped up, is like, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the person? Is this my person? Just going out and having a good time and focusing on maybe meeting a new friend, or, having a fun night out. So I think that's really key is getting to a place where you feel excited about getting out there and meeting new people.
Yeah, definitely doing your healing first. I definitely went right from divorce to rebound guy, broke up with rebound guy. And that was when I was like, okay, let's really do some dating. I had done a lot of healing, but I have to say my relationship with Kenny was also really healing. And I think that what was so important for me was, first of all, knowing myself and knowing what I wanted. I wanted something very different this time around, and also loving myself. I feel like, you know, it's a cliche, but you truly can't meet the love of your life unless you love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you stop doing those things that insult your soul and you start attracting what's in your best interest. But I love what you also had to say too, is don't feel like, you know, put these big expectations on the dates. I know I have to say, when Kenny showed up, he showed up with 2 dozen roses, and he showed up with a cooler filled with food because he's this phenomenal gardener, and it was an amazing first date. But I met some interesting people all over the country, and I had a lot of fun just meeting new people, and just, you're going to make mistakes, especially if you go, and I went from a 25-year marriage to dating and feeling like I floundered a little bit here and then. That was okay. I had some really dates that were almost worse than root canal, but that's part of it, you know, and you can just always be like, okay, that was a nice cup of coffee. And no, you know, I don't want to, you can protect yourself too. Like, you don't have to give your phone number out. I mean, the dating site Spiritual Signals actually has a whole platform that you can engage with, so that you don't actually have to even give people, you know, your personal information.
I have a few clients that use Spiritual Signals, so I'm encouraged to. I'm going to tell them that I know someone who met someone on there, because that's really exciting. I feel like you just hear about the usuals, you know, like Match and Tinder and Bumble, and it's nice to hear that you met someone on that one.
Yeah, I think the boutique sites can be really nice because they're so well curated and they ask so many questions. I honestly have to say that I didn't reach out to anybody. I had like dozens and dozens of men almost daily reaching out to me, and I actually enjoyed the process. So if you're listening, it can actually be a lot of fun, I think, but that's so important to have that positive attitude. Like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. And I think that if you get to a place where you are dreading it and it is a chore, I think that's when you're sign you need to take a break. Because I think, you know, you really need to keep that outlook of, you know, this is just going to be a fun night out. I'm feeling really good about this. I feel good about myself. And you need to keep that positivity, because the other person feels that, you know, and whether or not it becomes a friendship or something more is, you know, is a whole other thing. But people sense when you're feeling frustrated and down about online dating. And I mean, that just shows up to the date, and nobody wants to, you know, it's like everyone's with online dating, everyone kind of has their baggage with it to some degree. And I think that if you can go into it and both feeling somewhat positive about it, then, you know, you're feeding off of each other. And I think that's so important. So.
And I think it's good. I mean, I think there's something to be said for a casual first date, like just a coffee shop, well, not a lot of investment in time, but then it's also really fun to do something a little bit different and mix it up too, to have fun with it. So how do you help your clients around rejection? Like, they met somebody, they kind of like them, but then the person doesn't want to reciprocate. What do you do then?
I know. And the thing is with online dating is that there's sort of levels of rejection. There's the, you know, kind of minor rejection where maybe you message somebody and then never messaged you back. And then it kind of, and then there's the people that you message with for a week and then they disappear. And then there's like the person you went out on one date with and you never hear from them. There's so many points at which you can start to feel rejected. And I think the important thing to remember is, first of all, to feel the rejection and feel that moment, and then try to move past it and not, I've had people actually ask me in speaking engagements, like, basically what's the cure for feeling rejected and getting beyond it and getting back out there. And it's like, there's no cure for feeling rejected. You have to feel it and you have to just, take the steps to move past it and then just get yourself back out there again. And I think that's so important for people to remember and not feel like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. I'm just going to go out with somebody else right now and make that feeling go away. And, I only was talking to that person for 3 days. Why do I care so much? And, kind of beating yourself up and that, kind of self self-criticism and making yourself feel bad about it. And I think just feel it and feel that, recognize that you feel rejected, and then take the steps that you need to move past that. But also, what I tell people is you have to remember that, in a lot of these situations with online dating, they're not actually rejecting you, and you have to remember that this person hasn't even met you yet in person. If we're talking about just the messaging, people falling off in that way, they haven't even met you yet. So they're not rejecting you. They're just either flaky or something came up or whatever. There's a million reasons why you don't hear from somebody again, or they decided to go off the app or whatever, there's hundreds of reasons. So I think just realizing that it's not personal and it has nothing to do with you. It's really, it's their own thing. And you need to just recognize that and be able to move past it, because that's something that about online dating that gets people really hung up on is, well, I message people and I never hear back from them again.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's about them. It's not about you. And understand then, maybe they got COVID, maybe they had a death in the family, or, if it's not mutual, then that's okay. You've got to kiss, a number of frogs before you find your prince. And I would also just add too, is the self-compassion piece. Like, I love that you said, feel your emotions instead of like pushing them away. What my clients often do is they eat them away or they drink them away. They duck under the covers with Ben and Jerry's and watch Netflix. That's not going to solve your problem, but feel your feelings and ask yourself, what do I really need right now? Like, do I need to, as Wendy was saying, like, do I have a good girlfriend I can go hang out with who loves and accepts me exactly as I am? Can I hang out with my pet who loves and accepts me? Can I work on loving and accepting myself and just feel it? But then, moving on and realizing that it's not about you. And so where does taking care of yourself, what role does that play as you're in this online dating pool?
Well, I think it's, back to, having a level of positivity going into online dating, I think that it's important to, like you were saying, you need to love yourself. You need to be feeling good about yourself. You need to be feeling excited about meeting new people. And I think all those things are a way to take care of yourself, to be ready to online date. Because you have to be feeling ready for it, because it's not, it's no joke. It's like you have to really be putting yourself out there. And as I say, you can't just dabble and, you can, but you're not going to have a successful online dating life if you're just dabbling and checking your dating apps here and there, or, once a month. And, I have clients that come to me saying, like, I've been online dating for years. And I'll say, well, how often are you checking and swiping or messaging? And, oh, I go on every month or two and just see what's out there and see who's on there. And it's like you can't do it that way. You have to be diligent. You have to be setting aside time. You need to kind of have a little bit of a strategy, honestly, in approaching online dating, and be ready to put the effort out there.
Yeah, it's a bit like a job. I know I didn't take that long to find Kenny, but he took about 4.5 years to find me. So he would be on like every single night. He's this amazing gardener and he would just make big salads and he would sit there for hours, like going through all of his things, just knowing. And he did his chanting. He's a Kundalini teacher, so he would like chant to and from work all the time. And, he feels like he did the work for both of us, but it can be work, right? Absolutely.
Right. It's funny I met my partner online too. And it was the opposite. I was on there for a few years and he had just gotten on a few months before that. So I always say, like, you're so lucky. You didn't have to put in all that time.
So how do you put your best foot forward? I want to talk a little bit too, because I know you've got a background in style. And one of my big pet peeves is when I see women, and I think, Wendy talked about this too, is whether they're real estate agents or in banking, corporate, whatever they're in, but they use their 26-year-old self picture.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And then, is it any wonder that, the person meets you and you don't look like your picture? I know that's one of the things that's a big no, but how do you put your best foot forward in getting out there in the dating world?
Well, obviously, yes, good pictures are a huge part of it. And people have, anything from 10-year-old pictures to pictures where you can't even actually see the person because they're blurry or they're with, 20 other people, or, those are all actually, they're a cliche for a reason. So obviously having really good photos that you spend some effort on, and not just uploading one or two, definitely more than I always say at least 6 photos, depending on the app, but at least 6. But putting some effort into those photos, taking a bunch of selfies or having a friend take a ton of pictures of you and practicing really, because a lot of people our age don't take photos of themselves. They don't take selfies. They don't have any photos other than, especially if you've been in a marriage and, a long time. I didn't have any photos of myself without my kids or my husband. So, I think that's very common and for men and women. And, really taking the time to take some photos of just you without your children, without your cropping out your ex partner and really putting some effort in there. And then also, to go off of what Wendy was saying about style, I think that it's so key. And it's not because I want people to go out and buy thousands of dollars of new clothes that are all trendy or something. It's because I want people to buy, I even say to people, because a lot of people come to me and they're on a budget because they're going through a divorce or, they just went through a divorce and it can be expensive. And so my advice is like, buy 2 things that make you feel amazing and literally just wear those 2 things, wear those pants and that top on every first date. And that's huge. You're going to walk out the door and what I say is you can literally wear the same outfit on every single first date, and that nobody knows that you're re-wearing it 100 times. And it's tried and true. You're not reinventing the wheel every time you walk out the door, which can get so stressful. And you're already feeling nervous enough going out on dates. And, that takes one thing off your plate and just stepping out the door and knowing you feel really good about what you're wearing.
Yeah, you can also hire a photographer. I had all my headshots and everything done for my website, and I think she charged, I think it was like $250. I mean, I decided, I wanted my website to look good, but I went and I had the professional makeup done, had her shoot me. I look like me, and they look really good. But there's nothing, wrong with doing it. If you need that confidence, even my stylist isn't that expensive. I mean, this is part of the whole confidence and just getting to know what makes me feel comfortable, but still doing you. Right.
Yeah,
looking like yourself. But I love that. Let's just get 1 or 2 outfits that you feel really, really comfortable in. What about the profile piece? Have suggestions with somebody doing their profile?
You mean hiring someone to help them?
Well, no, to writing your profile.
Their own. Yeah. I mean, I think so. Hiring a photographer, is definitely obviously a great way to go. If you can, afford that. And, or just again, like grabbing a friend and, we have like a checklist that we give to people, like just do this, this, and this, and like, here's your guidelines and take that and do that with a friend. You don't have to spend the hundreds of dollars on a photographer. So that's key. And then also really taking the time to write a bio that's going to stand out from the others. As if you've online dated, you start to see the same things over and over again. I'm loyal, I'm funny, I love yoga, I love dinners out, I love red wine, you see the same thing. So really kind of, thinking about what's unique to you and really conveying that and having a couple friends read it over for you before you put it up there and see if it sounds true to you and authentic. Yeah.
Yeah. My headline was sophisticated hippie chick healer. So with a hippie heart or something like that. So we're almost out of time. Wendy, I want you to ask a question of Alyssa. Do you have a question?
I have so many. I wrote down like 6, but I'm going to go with this one. So, it's never been unusual for older men to date younger women. And I now have a friend who's going to be 60 this year, and she's living her best effing life. I mean, she's newly divorced. She's got her shit together. Her mojo is high, and she's on dating apps. And she's like 90% of these guys are 35, 40, 42. So my question to you is, are you seeing that trend more and more where the younger guys are genuinely interested in older women?
Absolutely. In fact, I mean, a lot of my clients find that, and I found that too. And of course, there are the few people that are doing that because they just want to be with somebody that doesn't want to get married and have children. And, they date someone older because they know they don't have to worry about those things. But, and that being said, I think there's plenty of real relationships that are happening that are 20. I have actually 2 friends that are divorced and dating people that are 20 to 25 years younger than them. They're in their 50s. and it's like real relationships. They're living with these people, like, and it's a real deal. It's not just, a fling or something, it's really interesting. I love that, actually. It's definitely a trend, and I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm a big fan of Grace and Frankie, and I'm just at the place where Jane Fonda, I don't remember the other actor, but he's, 20 years younger than her. And she pulls up her makeup, pulls up her eyelashes, shows the cane because she's having knee issues. And she's like, is this what you want? And he kisses her and he takes her up to the bedroom. But it's, it's so sweet that, I think that that's just bring everything full circle. Age is just a number. And I think we need to get away from having any stigma around it. We can always have that inner child, that true self can shine regardless. So got a moment left. Alyssa, where can people reach you?
Well, my website is stylemyprofilenyc.com. And then I'm on Instagram at Alyssa Dineen, and also Style My Profile NYC.
Perfect. And Wendy, how can people reach you?
The main place is Instagram. It's Goodbye Crop Top. If you want to shoot me an email, you can send it to info@goodbyecroptop, and my website is goodbyecroptop.com.
Awesome. We'll check them both out. They're awesome. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for listening. This was so much fun. If you enjoyed the show, please leave me a review and go visit me over at themidlifewhisperer.com. That's themidlifewhisperer.com, and we'll catch you next week.